Hello and welcome to today's episode, the fifth and final episode of our mini series called Healthy Planet, Healthy You. Myself and Pat Kane have been on for this is the fifth week now in a row, talking about our environmental health, how it impacts us. Sustainability advocate is the perfect person to join us on this topic. And here she is. Hello, Pat.
Hello, how are you?
I am great, and I'm so excited to dive into this topic. We've gone through lots of different topics, from sustainable fashion to microplastics to eco anxiety, and now we're coming kind of back to the where it kind of a lot of people would start off when they think of environmental health, climate change. What can I do?
For
Um,
sure.
Recycling in Ireland has come a long way, as I'm sure you speak about, but there is still a bit of confusion, isn't there?
There's confusion, and to be fair, we have come a long way. I think we got to be positive about progress, because every little bit matters.
Hmm.
But we still have a long way to go as well. Just yesterday, Voice Ireland, it's an NGO that promotes reusability, recyclability, and the use of fewer resources, launched a report, which I thought was quite timely for our conversation. So thanks to Voice. It's called Lifting the Lid. And they looked into a few, I suppose, a sample size of households and where was that waste coming from when it comes to recycling. What sort of materials are being recycled out there when it comes to, again, Irish households. And I do have a few notes here in my glasses because I would love to share a few bits. So
Yeah.
first of all, I think it's important for us to talk about the amount of waste that has been created and is created on a daily basis in Ireland and across the world. The statistics, so just to give you an idea around plastics, the statistic is that over the 9.5 billion tons of plastics created between the years of 1950 and 2019, so pre-pandemic, which I feel like, post-pandemic and during pandemic, things have exponentially,
Mm.
increased. But of those almost 10 billion tons of plastic alone, only 9% has been recycled.
Okay.
So, it begs the question, right? Where's that 91%? Surely some has been, I suppose, recirculated, turned into something else. Please God, I'd like to think that. And
Hmm.
I would believe that that is the case. But a lot of that has been incinerated,
Hmm.
buried in landfill, or sadly ended up in our waterways, in our oceans and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it is a very dirty picture to paint, if you ask
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And I suppose for anybody listening today, we want to just really give clarification by the end of this conversation, the do's and the don'ts, because recycling can be easy. And if you're kind of at a crossroads of, should I put this in the bin or not? And that's what this conversation is about, to help clarify
Exactly.
that, and why it's important. So, like, why is recycling important in your opinion?
Well, recycling really is what we are always saying, right? It's a part of the puzzle. It is, an important part of the puzzle. But I would like to say that it is also the last resort. We are looking at reusability, we're looking at circularity, we're looking at buying things that last. So translating, I suppose, that to English, plain English, it's buying things to last, things that can be reused, repurposed. Recycling comes when we have an element, a material, an item, a product that no longer serves any sort of purpose.
Hmm.
So it cannot be reused, repurposed, passed on to someone else, passed down or whatever. It really is the last resort. We have to throw that away
Hmm.
and, hopefully get that to be recycled into something else. Reminding everybody that when it comes to recycling, every time you recycle something of low quality, like, a soft plastics, which is, I don't know if I have one here, but a plastic that you can just scrunch or with your hands, or, even paper, it loses, that material will lose its quality and will never come back as strong as before. So, there's only so many times one can recycle certain materials. And for that reason, reusability, repurposing, these steps are so important, I guess.
Mm. So before you throw something out, think, can I actually use this for something? But if you are throwing it out, what can you throw out? Like, what are the things we can put into that recycling bin?
Yeah, so items such as, your paper and cardboard. So I'm
Mm.
looking at a notebook here. These sort of things. Perfect. You can recycle paper. You can recycle cardboard. You
Mm.
can recycle glass forever, which is a great material for its recyclability. You can
Mm.
recycle aluminum, so tins and cans, absolutely. And of course, you can recycle plastics. A
Mm.
bit more nuanced because there's so many different types of plastics. You're looking at rigid plastics. So I'm going to use a very simple example like, a minerals bottle, Coca-Cola or whatever it is that you drink, that kind of bottle can be recycled. That's a rigid plastic. And you can also recycle soft plastics, which is anything that you can crunch up with your hands.
I think a
Like
lot of people
think,
get confused there. It used to be just hard plastics in Ireland, but now it is opened to soft plastics, isn't it?
yeah, it's been a few years now since
Mm.
we went down that road, I guess, of recycling soft plastics.
Yeah.
So we're looking at plastic bags, carrier bags. We're looking at Ziploc bags, although of so very poor quality plastic, already so flimsy. But it's that sort of thing.
Mm.
All of
What
those
about,
things
sorry,
can.
what about like something like cling film? Can you recycle cling film? No.
The problem we can, and that was my next point, all of those things that I mentioned. So paper and cardboard, rigid and soft plastics, tins and cans, aluminum, glass, they can all be recycled when dry, clean, dry. Yeah.
Yeah.
And loosely put into a bin. So just let's go very much to the basics before we get into specifics, right? So if you think of your recyclability, you need things to be, all these elements to be clean, dry, and loose. And what do I mean by loose? When you have in some counties is a green bin, some others is brown bin, your recycling bin, you don't need a bag in there. Those elements will be thrown into that bin loosely. So I used to be the queen of getting, a cereal box, and in there would put a very, you know, great, ready for recycling Tetra Pak bottle or a plastic bottle or a bag or a bit of packaging, whatever it is, and have that compact box full of great recyclables.
Mhm.
That is not going to work because when that gets to the recycling center, the sorting facility, as we say, nobody's going to be checking in to see, did Liz do this properly? Did they clean? Is it dry? They're not. They're going to discard that as if bad waste, general waste. So make sure that you don't use a bag, you don't use anything. That recycling bin should be clean because everything going in there is clean and dry anyways. You're not
Yeah.
putting any sort of organic materials, anything that will smell. So it's
Mhm.
okay. Keep that bin empty, no
So it's
bags.
like I know I would often reuse, say, a brown paper bag and with handles, fill that up. But really
Exactly.
go to the bin, I should tip it out into the bin rather than put the bag full of the stuff in the bin.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Everything loose. Loose is a very important part. So clean,
Sometimes you
dry,
feel
and
like you're
loose.
getting more in there and you're gonna
I know.
impact.
I
But
know.
yeah, that's a really, really important point. I think we'll all
Yeah.
take from this. Just pour it out, have it loose, make sure there's no food on it. If you rinse it, allow it to dry before you put it into the recycling
That's
bin. And then the
yeah.
glass element would be in a separate glass bin as well. So you don't put
Exactly.
it in the recycling
Yeah.
bin itself.
So glass will always go to your glass bank. So what
Mhm.
usually people do, and you will see that often is people just, accumulate as much as possible and then they bring on a weekend or whenever they can, they bring it to the glass bin,
Mhm.
to the glass bin. So lots of, I suppose, waste centers, there's near me, I'm in Dublin 18, we have one in Ballyogan that's very good and that sort of thing. So, but large supermarkets and some car parks also have glass bins. So
Yeah.
that's where you would start. And then you ask me about cling film.
Yeah.
So cling film is one of those things. And why did I park that while I was talking about the three main, I suppose, pillars, clean, dry, loose? Because cling film is one of those things that you will most likely have it dirty with some sort of sauce or food leftovers or whatever it is. Yeah. So have you ever met someone that cleans cling film? I haven't. Yeah. So what I would say is one, definitely can't recycle that if it's dirty. Also,
Mm.
it's a very flimsy quality plastic that would probably be a problem for the sorting facilities, for machines that mince all of those
Mm.
bits of waste. So what I would say is like, let it go. No more cling film in your life. However, if you are looking for some shops like your Dunn stores, your Super Values, they will stock compostable film.
Okay.
So if yeah, so there are options out there for compostable cling film.
And then
Then they
they'll put
can
the
go
brown bin with your food waste.
your composting bin because some
Mm.
counties the colors are different.
Mm.
So your composting bin. So that I would recommend. But really, could you cover leftovers with a plate like the olden days?
Yeah.
Could you use beeswax wraps that can be composted at the end of their life cycle, that sort of thing to try and avoid. And then that
Mm.
brings me into your tin foil, which is a similar concept.
Yeah.
Tin foil can be recycled, aluminium, right? But again, it has to be clean. That's
Mm.
really
Thin and
important.
dry. Mm.
Clean and dry. And what I would say is you cannot recycle. When we get Easter eggs and you're opening, like unpacking it and those little bits of cling film, that's not going to work either. So you need to concentrate of get a big bowl of cling film, clean and dry, of course. Try and create
Tin
one
foil.
big bowl of tin foil,
Yeah.
and then that big ball of tin foil you can place in your recycling bin, but make sure it's
Okay.
clean.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that actually. That's brilliant. And say in the pharmacy setting, a lot of people, get medication and they're in foil blisters. Can we recycle those? I know some of them are fully foil and some of them are half plastic, half foil.
Yeah, I feel, and you tell me that, Liz, but I feel like most of them are still half plastic, half foil. In
Mm.
that case, if they are mixed material, we can't recycle that straight into
Mm.
the general waste bin. Yeah.
Okay. But if they're only foil, they can be. But if they have the mixture of plastic and foil,
Yeah, if it's a single material, should be okay. The
mm,
problems when they're mixed.
okay.
Because again, going back to the sorting facility, nobody's going to sit there, oh, let's put this in the recycling bin. Let's have a look. Or let's
Mm,
peel the plastic off the aluminum foil. It's just not going to work. So
yeah.
any sort of mixed materials. And I always say when people get brochures, I have a magazine here, but I'm going to pretend these are brochure, okay? When
Mhm.
you get a brochure in your post box, sometimes you look and it looks like paper. You're like, that's paper, I'll recycle. So that's a
Mhm.
typical classic case of is the paper though? So you will basically have to rip it, and rip a little bit. And when you rip it, you will be able to see if it's only paper or if that paper is coated with a very, very thin layer of plastic. Yeah. And in that case, once again, it's a mixed material and mixed materials cannot be recycled. So that is an example, which is a shame, but it is the way the world spins at the moment,
Yeah. And if
so again,
right and we think, oh, I'll just maybe it can be recycled. I'll just put it in the recycling bin anyway. Are we doing more harm than good?
yeah, so we call that wish cycling, right?
Wish cycling. I've
So
never heard that before.
yeah, so wish cycling, it's that kind of thing that you're looking and you're like, well, it looks like plastic or it looks like paper. I feel like it's
Mhm.
okay. Or even the blisters. That's a very good example. You
Yeah.
look and you're like, most of this thing here is plastic. So surely, right? You just throw it there. But that creates more problems than not because it could end up contaminating your bin in the sense of like, a lot of mixed stuff in there can be then discarded as just general waste because again, who has time to sort through waste? So it's important for us to learn a very excellent resource, in my opinion. It's a government funded resource called MyWaste.ie. For those who are, looking for a specific, can I recycle light bulbs? And we'll talk about that in a second. Can I recycle an old TV, an old computer, or even smaller things? Can I recycle a box with tape on it?
Mm.
Those kind of queries. MyWaste.ie usually they have a very great database of different materials that I highly recommend people to have a look.
Yeah, they actually have a search bar that you just put in your item and it'll kind of break it
Exactly.
for you. It is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We'll tag them in
Yeah.
it as well.
I think
Um,
so. Yeah, it's worth it. Yeah.
and then common mistakes you see with, like, while we're on this topic, do you want to kind of go through the kind of common kind of places people fall down a rabbit hole with?
Yeah, like, the big thing here is dirty. Any
Mhm.
sort of dirty materials, like stuff with leftover drinks inside liquids, or, pizza box. The pizza box is a classic case of a mistake. So pizza boxes, they will invariably come to us and they will be dirty with a bit of grease or sauce or whatever it is. You can't recycle that. However, you can compost that because there's a ratio there of brown waste and organic waste that can go into your composting bin. So I would say the pizza box is a classic one. People are like, well, surely this is cardboard. They take the pizza box, they look at it, it opens, it closes, cardboard, recycling. But no, but it's probably coated in cheese and whatnot, right? So that can go into your composting bin, or if you don't have one, straight into your general waste bin. So that's a good example.
Okay.
Other things like
Coffee
car
cups is good. And
Coffee cups is a very good one. Coffee cups, people often say, "Oh, it's a paper cup," and you hear so many places saying we serve our coffees in in paper cups. However, if that was purely paper, your coffee would be running down your arm, right? So no, that coffee cup is lined with plastic once again, so obviously it becomes impermeable, making that coffee cup not recyclable. Now, variations on the same theme, I guess. Coffee cups can be composted, and if they are compostable, you will see the words compostable on the cup, not necessarily only on that, I suppose, a belt, like that band that comes on the cup. Sometimes the cup comes with a paper band so you don't burn your hands.
yeah.
Right. So that band is usually recyclable because it's
Mhm.
just paper or just plastic. That's okay. But the actual cup, unless it states compostable, should go into your general waste bin.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually a really common one. And then as well, half the time you wouldn't rinse it out properly either. So don't be putting that in your recycling bin, either
No,
black bin you have if it is compostable. You have to check the lid as well as the body of the cup as well. And it's
exactly.
there's symbols on these things. Like this is just, educating ourselves more on it, taking that small second to have a look. And then it's
Yeah.
you have to put it in the black bin. You have to, but maybe next time bring your reusable coffee cup, like we spoke about before.
Well, like absolutely. Like the coffee cup, you have the lid, you have the band, the belt, whatever we call that,
Mhm,
and you have the cup. So you have three elements. So, band and lid should be recycled, no problem.
mhm,
The
mhm.
cup, you need to take that second that you mentioned there. Absolutely. I took notes here for us of these report by voice that I thought was quite relevant.
Yeah,
Funnily enough, and I suppose people will know that, but most of our recycling issues, meaning all the packaging and all the waste that we bring into our households when it comes to, paper, plastics, etc., they come from supermarkets, retail, takeaway, and online retail. And when it comes to online retail, shockingly, I guess, 96% of Irish homes have reported to use online retail last year versus an EU average of 77. So we have like 19% more when it comes to the average EU consumption of online retail. Again, we're an island, I guess, but we still have everything available to us in Ireland. We don't have
yeah,
to order everything online. It's convenience, right? As always, convenience wins.
yeah.
So
But it
as
is
you said,
isolating us as well a little bit. We're all at home. It is disconnecting us from other people. So just to be aware of that side of
yeah,
consumerism as well, like we speak about that, the importance of social connections for our health. So you're losing those little interactions with the shopkeeper, even trying on clothes in a changing room and asking someone's opinion, or making a day out and meeting your friend and going, you know, look for a look around the shops. It's moving your body. You're getting out walking. There's so many different aspects that contribute to your overall health here. And
Exactly.
yeah, all this, everything is very quick and easily accessible at the click of a finger. And half of the time we don't even want it or need it. You just end up, the ads pop up, the algorithm got you, and away you go.
That's it. And you mentioned something very good, and half of the time we don't actually need it. When you are out and about, you are shopping and you're choosing, you're trying, and you're less likely, I suppose, to come back to a shop to return something. Online, oh my God. Oh my God. I saw a reels last week of someone trying on, you know, they had half of the screen with the word like keep and the other half of the screen with the word return. And they were just like, no problem. So that's a waste of time, a waste of resource, a waste of your money. It's just, and then again, you miss out on those great interactions that I personally love. So there you go.
Mhm.
I feel like, we can do better when it comes to that sort of thing. Waste in general. When you look at, your supermarkets, for example, which is one of the concern areas, we're looking into, can you buy at refill stores? You're usually buying just what you need for your family, for yourself, for that week or whatever it is that month. I don't know how often you shop. So
Mhm.
they are recommending us to look after, look for refill stores near us, which I think is brilliant. I personally adore. Like there's lots of them around the country. In Dublin, particularly, you have, the Good Neighbour in Rathmines. You have the Good Shopper, the Proper Shopper in Leopardstown. You have lots of great shops around. You have
Mhm.
Noms in
No,
Phibsborough.
yeah,
Brilliant, yeah, brilliant,
yeah,
and it's been out there for so long.
yeah.
They also
Even local
recommend us
markets and stuff like that, you know, trying to shop
exactly
local. I actually last
shop
weekend
local.
I was home, North County Dublin, and I went to McNally's farm shop, and it was the
Yes,
weekend that then the headlines came out about the like.
no,
I feel so sorry for the suppliers that have had batches recalled for the listeria, but I was so glad because I was making a salad for a party that I'd actually shopped locally at the farm shop, and it was so tasty. And you're putting your money into your community, and
so
creating jobs
important.
locally, eating seasonally. You know, it's that biodiversity you're getting, and it's just a domino effect of positive moves.
And that is so important. I love
Mhm.
that. And you don't necessarily, if you don't have a refuel shop near you, you can absolutely, as you said, look for the green grocer. Bring your own containers. And there I say, I'm going to say something that, it might not be a common knowledge, but like if you go to a big supermarket, because I do my audits, as you know, Liz, I like audits. I go around and I've asked around Dunn Stores and Super Value, which are the two near me anyways, and I'm not paid to say that, absolutely not. I wish. But can I bring my own container to the butchers? Can I bring my own container to the cheesemongers? And they're like, sure, no
Yeah,
problem. So
just
that means I don't have to bring like plastic film, flimsy little bits home. I can
yeah,
just arrive, can go straight into my fridge. How
yeah,
wonderful that is. Perfect. So the other recommendation we have out there when it comes to recycling and trying to reduce that cycle, because again, we need to keep in mind that, as I said, it is the last resort.
hmm,
It's to invest or just like put your reusable containers to good use. So back to my point on cheesemongers, butchers, etc. The same goes for your coffee cups, for your bottles, for your carrier tote bags, and anything else that you can reuse on the go. So we're looking at cutlery, we're looking at cloths. If you have little kids and you need to wipe little hands and mouths, that sort of thing. Very handy. It reduces cost. You don't want to be buying tons of little water wipes or whatever they call. Just carry your own. It's totally fine.
yeah,
And then on bigger picture, we always talk about like, do you feel like your local community, your village or town, could they do better when it comes to maybe better recycling facilities, glass banks, clothes banks, or charity shops, or whatever it is, community-driven initiatives?
yeah,
Contact your TD, contact your local councillor. You put them there. You pay for their salaries. I think we have to remember these all that we pay for all these guys. They look
yeah,
good, they look beautiful in their big suits and all, but we pay for that.
yeah,
So, like let's engage with them.
yeah.
Let's
Don't be
ask
afraid to
them.
ask. know?
Absolutely. And I'd say Friends of Earth, Voice, all those guys, they have great templates for emails. So if you don't know what to say, reach out to these NGOs, these groups. They will help you. I think they're brilliant. And I know I sound like a broken record when I talk about those guys, but I genuinely admire their work
Yeah,
and I know it works. And then lastly, it's engage with supermarkets. Like
yeah,
I asked, can I bring my container to the cheesemongers if I have a party and I need to do a cheese board, for example?
yeah,
No problem. Can I ask them, look, I don't want to buy plastic wrapped lime or whatever it is, apples.
yeah,
Can you guys come up with a solution for this?
yeah,
Or else I'm going to leave my rubbish here. How about that? I've done that
yeah.
before. I don't recommend being that blunt, but it works,
I
so
You've just reminded me, if you're buying bananas, obviously you see them in a bag. Bananas, which are already in a thick skin, in a plastic bag, so unnecessary. But a lot of the bananas now come with the brown sticky tape, just a brown band. That's sticky and kind of paper. Can we recycle that out of curiosity?
yeah, that's a you can. Yeah. And it actually says on the band, because I've checked that, the organic ones, if
Yes.
you know the brand I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I've checked that band because that's the one I would buy for my house, for my home, for my kids and all. So absolutely. When it
Yeah.
comes to tape, that's a very common question. I ordered online. Again, we know that Irish households order a lot online, 96% in 2024. So you can recycle boxes with tape, not like a whole completely covered in plastic tape, but like a moderate amount you can absolutely put in your recycling bin. Same goes with staples and that sort of thing.
Okay, brilliant, brilliant. So the kind of key takeaways are your recyclable bin had the stuff going into it needs to be clean, dry, and loose. So
Yes.
not loads of millions of things stuffed into your cereal box, which is stuffed into a bag, stuffed into something else, into a
Yeah.
big cardboard box. When you bring it, carry it down in, like obviously in the bag to the bin, but then tip it out loosely into your bin. That's a big thing I'm going to take away from this. And then the reasons to do it, like, for our planet, to try reduce pollution, reduce climate change, we have to have a healthy world to be able to live on it and reap the benefits of it and get food from it. So, why we're doing this in the first place. We're not here to nag people or point the finger, but we really would encourage you to have the conversation at home, but in your workplace. Maybe I think the workplace is somewhere very important. People can be shy to speak up. I am a tyrant in work at the moment, going through black bins. Like, who put this in the bin? This is a cardboard box. Like, there's
You
recycling.
guys, you guys have a really good guide on recycling, dare
Yeah,
I say.
yeah. And but like, don't be afraid to call it out. If someone's just throwing like, their empty yogurt cups into the black bin, just say like, guys, if you rinse that out, leave it to dry, that's recyclable and can be used again, rather than sitting in a landfill. Like our landfills, the dumps are filling up. Nobody wants to jump near them. Where's it going to go? Like just to think about the bigger picture and be a bit more conscientious. And because we're all a global community at the end of it. So I think,
And
yeah,
sorry, Liz. And I think just because it's our last episode, let's say, right, our
yeah,
last live, I feel like, we have to highlight the work that yourselves are doing at Mars. For years now, Una and the team have been very interested in sustainability. I've been very lucky to be working with you. You have gone deep into understanding what sort of pharmaceutical items do you throw in the bin and how
mhm,
to best, I suppose, dispose of those. So I feel like, like Mars Pharmacy would be one of those places that if you are in doubt, if you don't know what to do, the team are very well equipped to support, your blisters, your whatever it is, like band-aids, I don't know. So, and I feel like it has to be said because not every business is quite there yet. I feel like things are
yeah,
changing. The tide is definitely changing for the better. But it's good to see. It's really
yeah.
good to see.
And their online delivery, it comes in cardboard boxes now as well.
Really
So
good.
really
Yes.
a huge step.
Brown paper tape and all of that. So I feel,
Yeah.
somehow very proud of it as well
I,
myself.
you played your role in that, definitely. So well done, you two.
Oh.
On that note,
Wonderful.
I'm so like I can't believe we've come to the end of 5 weeks of episodes. We've discussed everything from eco anxiety, sustainable fashion, microplastics, the health benefits of nature, and everything is going to be up on YouTube to watch back. So if anybody wants to watch an episode again or listen to it or share it, please do. And yeah, if anyone wants to drop any comments on, if you've taken any points away from this talk today, leave us a little recycling symbol underneath if you'd enjoyed it. And yeah, hopefully you'll nail recycling going forward.
There you go. And we're always happy to answer questions. So that's
Yeah,
important.
on always. Thank you so much, Pat, for joining us. It's been an
Thank you.
pleasure, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.